All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a real honor tonight on Sportswire Radio, and I've been promoting this quite a bit and even had to have a Mars bar just to get fired up for this one because this man needs no introduction, but we're going to give it to him anyway, and a long introduction because he is the reigning, defending Colory Championship Wrestling's Underground Heavyweight Championship. He won it a few weeks ago at Miners Mania 2 and beat a who's who of opponents. Many of them been on here on Sportswire Radio, but he hasn't been on here in a hot skip in a minute. We're going to give him his due, and he's going to be in the ring coming up 2 short weeks from tomorrow, and he's going to be at You Say We Play against Walker Wall Street in a last man standing match. We'll talk about that, plus a lot going on here in CCW. He has always been one of our favorites. He is Yorkshire's bastard son, but I don't think he's going to be anyone's bastard son these days. As I said before, he needs no further introduction, but we are going to give it to him anyway. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, CCW Underground Heavyweight Champion of the World, Grayson Reilly. The champ is here. My friend, congratulations, first of all.
Well, first off, thank you for letting me come on, Tom. Do appreciate it, and thank you. Thank you for that warm intro. Thank you for acknowledging the CCW champion.
I acknowledge you. Listen, to quote Paul Heyman to Roman Reigns, I acknowledge you. You are certainly our leader here in CCW. And I have a lot of people that are tuned in, and we'll definitely get to them here in a second. But obviously, it's good to be with you. It's definitely been a while, but definitely we're going to make up for time, as I pointed out in my introduction of you. But obviously, you are a busy man, and I kind of wanted to ask you the question at the top, and kind of the most obvious one. And what does it mean to you to be the Colory Championship Wrestling Underground Heavyweight Champion?
Everything. It means everything. Now, first off, I am no underground champion. I am a world champion. So as much as it might say underground champion on this belt, believe that when it's on my shoulder or around my waist, it is a world championship. But this belt means everything to me. It means everything from the moment that we came into CCW. It made everything I've done since worthwhile. It made it matter. And CCW finally has a champion that it can be proud of.
You know, it's funny you said that, because when we had on the prior champion to you, which you obviously defeated at Miners Mania 2 and a whole list of opponents, that I kind of felt that you looked at some champions we've had here in the past, and I don't know if you would have quite said that they were a world champion, but you've always looked like a champion, whether it was when you held the tag titles for as long as you did, or whether it's now with the world title here for the past couple of weeks. I feel now that CCW is going in a direction where we have a world champion that looks like a world champion. I mean, not getting too much into the weeds there, champ, but kind of tell me your thoughts on that.
Everything you say is true. I've been a champion for years. Before I got into pro wrestling, inside cages, inside rings, I have had championships. I have won tournaments. So it was just, and everybody hates me for saying it, but it was inevitable. I was inevitable. It was always going to happen. When I had my eyes on the tag titles, we got them. When I had my eyes on this title, I took it. I got it. I'm a man who follows through. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I do.
Well, you definitely have here, and I do have a bunch of comments before I certainly come back to you, champ. And Uncle Ralph says, good evening, gentlemen. Obviously, Uncle Ralph we know rather well, and certainly he says hello. This individual, one of our favorites, Sportswire says good evening. Skulls, the Soul Hunter from the EWF in California, says hello. And my guest Monday night, Mr. Big Cheese Logan, has a rather interesting comment for both of us. Says, currently watching this while I'm at a Skillet concert. How are you being able to watch this and a Skillet concert at the same time? That's what I want to know. That's more interesting than this comment. But he says Sportswire is more interesting.
Impressive.
That is very impressive. And Big Cheese Logan was at the Limp Bizkit concert the other day, so he's an impressive man to say the least. And I'll find out when he's in your chair Monday night, 7:30 p.m. He also says good evening to my fellow friends. Also, Casey Jack Bradley says hello, Tom and Grayson. And this individual, who I'll get to in a little while, says evenings. I'll get to him in a little while. I'm not going to get to him just yet, though. I'm not going to get to him just yet, but I'll certainly make sure.
Good evening, Mr. McGregor.
We'll definitely get to him, but not going to get to him just yet. I want to make sure that we kind of speak with you and kind of talk about where we are. You know, I feel like in a lot of ways, and hearing you talk about those things, when you wanted the tag titles, you got them and you held them for as long as you did. The world title is something you've long eyed, you've had it. Maybe in a lot of ways, and now that I get a chance to have you on Sportswire Radio, maybe you were the one that was underappreciated. You were the one that was overlooked. You were the guy, not just in top tier, but maybe in all of CCW that everybody slept on here. And that's kind of why when you say something, you do it. You know, you're one of these wrestlers, and tell me your thoughts on this, champ. You're one of the wrestlers when they're in a big moment, they're in a championship match, they go on a whole nother level. And I think that that's what we're going to see and continue to see with you. And tell me your thoughts on all that.
Again, everything you said's true. I am on a different level. When I get into a ring, it's my ring. When I get into a cage, it's my cage. It doesn't matter. There is only one goal, and that is to destroy the person in front of me. And that's why this is going to stay with me for a very, very long time. Because this title, it weighs a lot. It is heavy because you see everybody's coming after it, because once you are the guy at the top, everyone wants to prove that you're not. The problem for CCW now is I am the guy at the top. I am the standard bearer. And even on a bad day, none of you can get to my level.
No question that you are on a whole nother level here, and I do have some comments before I ask you something about that. Dave Douglas, also of the Modern Day Mafia, gives a smiley emoji, and obviously we saw them in CCW a while back. And this individual who was on Sunday says, "Evening Tom, evening Grayson," with a fist bump. And Skulls says, "Ronda Rousey the second." Well, what's the Ronda Rousey quote referencing to? And again, I'll get to this individual, and he mentions somebody we'll spend a few minutes on at some point in the show, but we'll certainly hold that off there. And I mean, I have to ask you a question. Hearing you talk about those different things and the people that are coming out of the woodworks and the people that are certainly putting your name in their mouth, under their mouths, whatever you might want to call it here these past few weeks. And does life feel different now as a champion? I mean, do you feel now the responsibilities of carrying the company and such? And I mean, talk about that.
It is a lot of responsibility, and I'm more than ready for it. For a while, for a long while, CCW was needed a real champion, someone who can carry the weight of the business, can be the flag bearer, can be the guy at the top. And you see, they have that guy at the top now, and I've fought to get here tooth and nail, and I am going to do everything I can to stay there, because I am the CCW champion, and I will be. And there's something, you said it a couple of times now, the reigning, defending. It's not the first time I've ever heard it, but every time I hear it, it gives me that rush. It gives me chills. It gets me excited. It puts me in that frame of mind that I need to be to get into that ring and pull people apart. See, that's why I am world champion. And that's why I will remain world champion for a long time, because I am prepared to go further than anyone else to keep this title.
You know, it's interesting that you talked about some of these different things, and I touched upon it a few minutes ago as we are here with the reigning defending, we're going to say CCW world champion, Grayson Reilly, not the underground heavyweight champion, because he is the company's standard bearer. And of course, please follow our friends over at Cutlery Championship Wrestling on their pages on Facebook, also Instagram. Please support this great company. And I have a ton of comments. I'll get to everybody in a second because you are the champion. But it's always amazed me that CCW has grown the way it has when at the top we've had some champions that everybody around the block or in the know questioned. And again, those individuals certainly, they can certainly speak for themselves. And obviously at that particular time, that was at that moment. But when I look at you, I think the company's going to go to even further heights. And we have a couple of things, I think, in the works that are going to show that you're the top guy that's going to help this company and promote those things for the company to grow. And the first one, I think, off the top that in my head and everybody in the locker room is talking about this brand split coming up here next month, May the 21st. And this is kind of a cool thing here because usually you don't get too many drafts outside of, well, that big company there up north and here in the United States. But I mean, talk about how you're the guy at the top of the helm here with this roster draft split here coming up on May the 21st. I mean, what's your opinions on that?
I think it's a good idea. See, for 18 months, I have been a part of the CCW roster, and for 18 months, I have seen more and more talent come in than anywhere else that I've worked. So when it gets to the stage where instead of overpacking a show and sorry, there's nothing for you, maybe next time, a brand split's a good idea. That's a brilliant idea. It means that other people can go off and do what they want to do, try and chase after other belts, because let's be fair, if they came after mine, they wouldn't get anywhere. There's more chance that they're going to get it if they go over there. Progress. It's all about progress. And it's a good thing, and it's a sign of how good CCW is, that we've got that much talent on the roster that we have to split it.
Absolutely, no question about that. And I have some follow-ups to that, but let me try to read off everybody's comments here. And also, Skull says basically the comparison of Ronda Rousey is that it's your ring now in CCW, whereas in Ronda Rousey in the UFC and that when she was in the WWE winning those championships, it was her ring. So that's fair enough. And I think this is going to be a lot of sentiments for a lot of people, says, and you are the one for that role. Certainly, no question about that. You definitely look like a champion, regardless of what people may think. So that's always a good thing, right? Mr. McGregor, I will get to Mr. McGregor. I promise you we will get to Mr. McGregor. He says Ronnie Thatcher, of course, the gentleman thug, was the flag bearer, our inaugural champion. We'll definitely talk about that. And can't believe you turned on your brother. We was all I mean, I think people tonight really want to talk to you, which is kind of okay because the last 5 or 6 shows I've done on Sportswire, I'm having at this point people just answering and asking the questions for me. But we will get to
I'll tell you what, I would like to answer that last question right now.
Sure. Okay. Do it. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll.
So the night that I turned on my brother, I was walking to my car and a fan collared me backstage or outside and came up to me and patted me on the back and said, I was expecting it, but not from you. So from there, we're going to go back a little bit further. We're going to go back to the summer of Slugger. When I remember
it. Yep.
When I was out injured. And you know what? He was there. He was there to look after me for a while. And then the summer of Slugger kicked in and he started listening to all of those pissant fans. He started caring about what they thought. He started caring about going and putting on shows in front of them. Oh, sorry, mate, I'll come round and see you tomorrow. And then I get the opportunity to come back and I keep it quiet. But my opponent is my brother. And the reason that I took that fight was because I thought he would know that I took that fight because I knew that he could take me to the limit. He was the only person who I thought could beat me on the roster. But instead, no. Instead, he just didn't like like the fact that he had to go against me, because you see, there was always the possibility that what happened and he would lose and I beat him. But then, we go back to tagging, and as the time's going on and I'm there and I'm getting up on that turnbuckle and we're throwing up the hands and those fans are cheering, and then next thing we're walking out through them and I can see them all cheering, and I'm thinking, we're losing sight of the bigger picture. In case in point, the last 3 matches that the militia had, they lost, and the last loss was the last straw. You see, I am a champion. I have been champion material since 20 years ago. I won my first MMA title 2009. That's how long I go back with. That's how long I go back with fighting. And you see, I got a taste for gold. I got a taste for it. And so I've been chasing it ever since. And this isn't the first world title I've held, but it's the first one I've held in pro wrestling, which means it's extremely important to me. It means that I am not going to give it up.
Let me ask you a follow-up, but I have a ton of comments. I promise I'll get to everybody. But you said something that was so interesting. I'm going to leave some of the stuff about your former partner in a second. I'll come back to all that. I know a lot to cover with you, but you had talked about the fact that this is your first world championship in professional wrestling, but we know your background because we've had you on here in the past from your MMA time. So how does this compare to when you were a champion in MMA? I have to ask the simple question.
It's on a par with it. It's definitely on a par. It's not the same game, but it's very, very similar. And you see, it's close enough to what I used to do. It's close enough to MMA for me to be able to just blur the lines ever so slightly. And I'm going to start doing that more and more and more because I'm a champion. I am the champion. So why would I not make people fight my fight instead of, giving them a chance? It's not going to happen.
Well, that is certainly
fair. Title means everything. This means as much to me as the first title that I won in MMA. It means as much to me as the first title that I've won in Muay Thai. And that, you see, Thai boxing, that is my bread and butter. That is my blood. I lived, slept and breathed Muay Thai for 12 years. And the feeling that I get holding this is on a par with the first title I held in Thai boxing. And that, you see, MMA is here, but Thai boxing's through the roof. It's next level. MMA was just something for fun. Thai boxing was a way of life.
And I always felt with your background that you could be somebody that when it comes to a championship, if they get the title, and we've obviously had you on in the past when you had mentioned those tag titles, that nobody would be able to match your skills. What you do in the ring, and obviously having a chance to watch you in the ring in the past, and in a lot of ways, I mean, I think you were the guy that some people would have said, well, he should have been a world champion months ago. It was obvious. I mean, what you could do in the ring, your look, your physique, your background. I mean, look at the way you are tonight. I mean, you look like a champion. When I think about, take a step back here for a second. When I think about some of the other champions that have come on to Sportswire Radio, and you look like, in some ways, you might top some of them. You're in the same ring, certainly. I mean, so at the end of the day, you definitely are a champion. I think CCW is in very, very good hands, regardless of how some may say you got there. Let me get to a bunch of comments here first, because people do want to talk to you. They don't want to hear me. They want to hear themselves talk to you, and for good reasons. Skull says he would like to attend the CCW show. Well, they've got a big show coming up, April the 29th. The champ is going to be in action. If you can, find a ticket. If there is a ticket still left, go out and get a plane ticket while you're at it to the UK, and you can say the champ is here, and you can certainly maybe meet the champ. And Colin says Cutlery or Carnage. Well, actually, you know what? I will go to that. Do you have a preference? I mean, I would think that was the champion. You could be on both shows, right? Similar to Roman Reigns, no?
I am the world champ, and therefore world champ will have to do what the world champ is told to do. So if I'm told that I have to defend it on a Carnage show, I will defend it on a Carnage show. If I have to defend it on a CCW show, I'll defend it on a CCW show. Simple as that.
I think it sounds pretty good to me, and I'm not going to argue because you're the champion. You're the guy on top, right? Casey Jack Bradley says you definitely have a target on your back, and everyone is aiming for you in your championship. There might be one person who might hit the bullseye. You just have to watch your back. You never know who it might be in CCW or the other places. Yeah, I think that's good though. But you know what? What I've
It's
learned about
true. It's true. Everybody, it doesn't matter whether, like I say, it doesn't matter if it's a martial art or it doesn't matter if it's wrestling. If you are the guy at the top of the hill, if you're the guy with the belt, then everybody is coming after you. I have had a target on my back for years. It's not new to me. The only difference now is I have this. I have this to defend, and I will go to great lengths to defend it.
amen to that. And listen, any champion, right? They're going to be sketch challengers and everybody else is going to want to take a shot at them. So at the end of the day, I mean, that's you're doing your job. So certainly Grayson knows that he's been at the mountain, and our friends over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment who are getting ready for their own show, their return for season 3 here, says hello to both of us, and we thank our friends over at WC, which you can follow on YouTube and Facebook at WC Heat, and also please follow Colory Championship Wrestling on Instagram, Colory Championship _wrestling, also Facebook as well, CCW, Carnage Championship Wrestling, all some great outlets, and please support our friends. And I think one of my employers, am I able to say this? One of my employers actually is saying hello. So hopefully I'm doing a good job, and that is Mr. Harold Tischler. So Mr. Heshy Tischler, as they call him, Uncle Heshy, certainly. Mr. Boss, hello, hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. I guess you're enjoying this, as hopefully everyone else is. And WC also wants to say, luck of the draw is halfway done. Expect the show to premiere in about a week. We appreciate that. Looking forward to it and talking about it. Also, this individual, who I think is related to the individual I had on from Firestar Championship Wrestling this past weekend, says Slugger realized there was a bigger world than just top tier. Well, right now, he's the guy that's the top tier. He's the guy that's the champion. So certainly, I'm going to plead the fifth on some of that. WCE with exclamation parts. Appreciate that. First in wrestling, is he disregarding being a tag team world champion? Well, you want to go with Uncle Ralph, your former ally, saying here, first in wrestling, he's disregarding being a tag team world champion. And I thought Uncle Ralph was the guy that actually sicked the mafia on you guys. No, I mean I'm confused here. What am I missing here, Grayson? Tell me what I don't know.
What it came down to was Uncle Ralph was right. Every time he chewed us up, GT Ministries chewed us up outside after we got beat. He turned his back on us. No, he didn't turn his back on us. He got fed up just like I did. It just took me a little bit longer. He got fed up with the fact that we were pandering to the crowd, that we cared about the people in the seats instead of keeping the belts on our shoulders. So I see it now, Ralph. I do. I'm not disregarding the fact that I was a tag team champion. I'm not disregarding the fact that I was a world tag team champion. But this is the CCW World Heavyweight title. And this means a whole lot more than those tag titles did right now.
Well, you certainly look like a champion, and I'll certainly say that we'll have some more comments, undoubtedly, so let me get to them first here. John Rowlandson, obviously, who's behind the play-by-play for our friends over at Colory Championship Wrestling, says, I might not agree with the chosen path, but it has certainly been effective, and there is no more capable, no more dangerous, no more fitting person to hold that belt. Exactly what I said in a different way there, John, because he looks like a champion, and this is a company that I think now has an identity of a guy at the top of the mountain now. And again, this is a company that's grown leaps and bounds without really ever having that here. So certainly I'm glad that somebody else sees it. Grayson has one up on Skulls when it comes to MMA. Yes, because Skulls had competed in MMA for a little while. So certainly good points there. Sold out April the 29th. Again, another sell. What are we on? 16, 17 sellouts in a row? Something
That's
like that.
Because everyone's coming to see me.
Fair point. Listen, you are the champion. You're the guy that brings in the tickets. You're the guy that does bring it in here. Casey Jack Bradley says, Grayson, you are a great champion, but your arrogance or ego might cost you if you are not careful. Just beware it happens to most champions.
I'll tell you exactly what my old Thai boxing coach told me. It's not arrogance if you can back it up.
Hey, I definitely wouldn't argue with that here. Colin wants to remind me 22 consecutive sellouts. Wow, now that is extremely, extremely impressive. So if we want to thank everybody that has supported CCW and they've
See, this is the
supported
thing
us.
about CCW. They might be the black sheep or they might be tarred in some way, but we are making waves. Our roster grows that big that we have to split the roster into two brands. You have a champion at the top who will quite happily go toe-to-toe with any other champion who wants to step forward. We are making waves, and we have been for well over a year. And now the whole company is going to be recognized as it should be because of me holding this belt.
I'm not going to argue with any of that. Now, I have a couple of your opponents who are in that match at Miners Mania 2 that want to chime in, as well as an upcoming guest, and I'll get to all of them in a second. But I kind of actually wanted to ask you this for a while, champ. And now that you've been in CCW for a long time, and you kind of referenced some of these different people as reasons why we're going to have a draft. These outsiders that have wanted to come into CCW and prove their worth and test their mettle, whatever you want to call it. And I've always wondered. I mean, what have you long thought about all these different outsiders that have wanted to kind of come in here in CCW and usurp what maybe you and others have built?
I feel after the smoke settled and everything cleared, I think people finally started to realize that CCW was somewhere that they could come, that they could hone their craft, that they could show off their talent. And so now what you've got is people coming, please, sir, can I have a booking? Which, fine, bring them in. Line them up. I'll smash them all. Having new talent is not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. I don't think CCW's roster growing is a bad thing. If anything, it's just proving everybody who was looking down the nose at us that we were right all along. That CCW should be recognized, should be taken seriously.
Well, I want to say this, and I might want to break a little bit of character for a second before I get to a ton of comments, and I'll get to everybody. I promise this, but I mean, there were people that said to me on Sportswire off the air, hey, CCW, don't talk about them. Don't bring them on. In fact, there was actually one guest I was supposed to have on right around this time last year said, I'm not going to come on your show because you're talking to people from CCW. So you know what I actually said without saying it? You're never coming back to Sportswire Radio. And CCW, in my opinion, as somebody that's not only a wrestling fan, but is the man behind Sportswire Radio, CCW is the place. And I'm glad that I recognize CCW. And I'm glad that I saw what everybody is seeing now, depending on what company you work for and who you might watch and whatever you might be. I am glad that I have always stood steadfast in my belief that CCW is one of those companies where, quote unquote, the big boys play. And that's why we are very, very happy to continue to support CCW. But enough about that.
CCW is going from strength to strength. It's going on leaps and bounds. And what you're going to have is you're going to have the people that actually acknowledge and they recognize and they go, all right, guys, fair enough. You've actually pulled yourself out of the mud and you're doing well. And then you'll have the ones that see exactly that and see that CCW was starting to do better, starting to do well, starting to be recognized, starting to have talent coming in from here, there, and everywhere. And they will still go, yeah, but no. We, CCW, will be recognized. And if you don't already, you will be forced to. It's like I said to this, it's like I said to the fans, it's like I said to the roster. I am the flag bearer for CCW now. I am up here. And I am going to drag you kicking and screaming with me if you don't come along. If you don't want to come along of your own free will, I will drag you. You will come up to my level. You will recognize my level, the standard that I am putting forward.
I definitely, again, I'll continue to say it, acknowledge.
I apologize. I am
CCW.
a passionate man.
No, and this is why we're having you here. And this is why you are a champion, which I said at the very beginning. This is what a champion is supposed to be. This is why CCW is going to even further heights because of what you say. But you know what? I'm going to come back to all that, I'm sure. But a couple of the participants who were in Miners Mania 2 would like to say something. The first individual, who I believe is related to an individual that is coming on Thursday night, 9 o'clock British Standard Time, that is Hammerhead Smith. He says, Tom, what helped him in that match is he had 3 cherry bakewells beforehand. Is that true? Is that, you want to confirm or deny that? I would say probably plead the fifth on that about the cherry bakewells.
I will plead the fifth. No comment.
Good enough. That's why I liked you. I always liked you. I always did like you. I don't know if you'll agree so much on what Hybrid, the former champion, the man obviously you took over the reins here for, says, did not see you and Slugger working together to eliminate me. Very dangerous move. What do you say to the former champion, who certainly had his own issues of late here?
I tagged with Slugger Hampton for 5 years. And when it came down to the final 3, I wanted rid of you as quickly as possible. NTC, or nap time, it was the right way to go. It was the right call. I knew full well I could get him to do it. See, Mr. Bryce, you probably didn't see it, but me and Slugger, we actually finished off Hybrid with our old tag team finish. TSL. Knee to the side of the head, elbow to the side of the head.
I've seen it before.
It worked. Who was it who pinned you? It was me. You were good. You're good, Hybrid. I'll give you that. But I'm better. The only reason I didn't take this title off you back in January was because of Slugger. He beat me that night, not you. And you know it. Now, I have respect for you. I do have respect for you because, you know, at the end of the day, you come from a cage background too. And there's no shame in going in there, giving it everything you've got, and not winning. At least you come away from it knowing that you gave everything.
All right, but let me ask you a follow-up, and I don't even know if you're prepared for me to ask this, but there was obviously different people. We've had Hybrid on a couple of times. Obviously, when he was the champion, he held the title here for a little while, and there were a lot of wrestlers out there, and even those that were listening to us and watching and fans of us on Sportswire, that had kind of felt that the way Hybrid took the title was kind of cheap. It was the cheap way out almost. And it was really the title. Go ahead, because I could see you did want to talk about this and you were prepared. So go ahead. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. Hybrid won. He won the Battle Royale, and then he cashed in immediately on Mad Max Cooper after he just won the title. Nobody batted an eyelid. Mr. McGregor again. See, Mr. McGregor, I think he's my number one fan because he's constantly going on and on and on about me. But again, Mr. McGregor, you see, it's what it comes down to, Tom, is selective outrage. It's something called selective outrage, and it's when people pick and choose the bits that they want to get annoyed at. So they're annoyed because I'm the champion and not the guy that they want to be. But when they did something unhanded as well, because let's be fair, Hybrid, yes, all right, what you did was legal, but it was a bit cheeky, wasn't it? Cashing the lamp in on a guy immediately after he's just won title. But, you know, do what you got to do. That's what I did. And look where it's got me. Simple as.
But you're a fighter. And you're a guy that likes to look your opponent in the eye. And there was some that had said here that was those that outside of CCW, in CCW itself, that had felt that Hybrid was this guy, yeah, about the fans. He loved the fans, and he joins all of a sudden. He joins the CWO, and he joins them, and then almost kind of usurps himself to the top. But to a lot of people, felt it wasn't fair. It wasn't as a fighting champion. That's what some people. That's what some people say out there. And you seem to be the kind of guy that would want to at least look the guy in the eye and then take the title from him. That's just what I'm kind of gathering.
Yeah, I am the guy. I will never get into a fight with somebody without standing face to face with them. See, people will probably be chiming in now. But what about when Nerds and Barras jumped on Slugger? I was still looking him in the eye. Champions have a right way to act and a wrong way to act, and I'm going to act the right way as a champion. I'm going to be that champion who's quite happy to defend his title against anyone and everyone who comes against me, and I will look you in the eyes and I will beat the living hell out of you.
Spoken like a true fighting champion here. I do have a ton of comments here. So also here we have, let's see, I have a lot of people. Grayson is the box office from Skulls. Yes, we definitely agree. I believe I should probably say this now, but my guest coming up here in a few weeks on May the 2nd, Mr. Joel Cobra. Interesting comment here from Joel Cobra. We'll have him on about 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time. And he says, Grayson. The fact you are not the true CCW champion, turning your back on your brother, what you have done to Slugger is disgusting. I respected WMC, but to see Slugger so broken, you've changed. I mean, Joe Cobra, I didn't expect this kind of comment from Joe Cobra, especially after when you guys battled him in a few months back in CCW. I mean, what do you want to say to this?
So, Joel Cobra, you see, Joel, the first time the working class militia and the modern day mafia went to town on each other, we won, and after the match, you shook our hands. You shook our hands and you showed us respect. But then you turn up with Uncle Ralph. Took us off guard. And you want to talk about disrespect? You want to talk about me being offhand? You and Douglas, you just turned up. This is after months and months of us being friends and backstage, shaking hands, showing love, showing respect to one another, telling us when you've got your bookings. You didn't tell us about that booking, did you? You just turned up. You took us off guard and you beat us. And again, you see selective outrage. Because when you do it, it's all right. But when the other guy does it, when the guy who everybody doesn't think should be world champion is world champion, and the only reason that the people think I shouldn't be is because they know they're going to have a really, really hard time getting it off me. I mean, they pick and choose. They pick and choose when they get annoyed. They pick and choose when they're upset. They pick and choose who they choose to be upset with. It's sad, really.
And a lot of people would be surprised it was coming from Joel Cobra's mouth, because Joel Cobra certainly, he's had his own things where he's tried to be in the business for himself, and he and the Mafia. They had, listen, in GT Ministries, it was well documented there. Some of the things that they've went through with Jack Johnson, and obviously you guys, we've had you guys on together. So, This is a little bit of a surprising take. Some may say, I'll ask Mr. Cobra about this on May the 2nd, so it'll be a few weeks from now, and Mr. Cobra returns. I'll let Mr. Cobra speak for himself at that particular time here, but this is kind of a fair comment here. I think Slugger should be champ, but what everyone is forgetting that this man took some beatings and would have learned a lot from Slugger, and I think that Grayson Reilly is the champion for a lot of reasons, and I think he's going to prove to a lot of people on April the 29th, we're going to get to that in a second, on why he's going to continue to be the man to lead CCW for a long time. Hi, you guys. Hello to you, Joel. I apologize we haven't got a chance to get to you. A lot of people have tuned in. CCW is the company from Hybrid. Yes, we agree with you on that. I'm not sure I'm Cody Championship Wrestling, but the fans. It's all about the fans in CCW because they're the ones that pay the tickets. Well said, mate. Yes, I agree. All that weight carrying CCW on your shoulders, you will eventually tire out and weaken out. But I hope you have enough strength to carry it for years to come until someone takes that task from you. Well, we'll certainly find out here. I'll tell you that much. I was outraged. Me underhanded? How very dare you? Prestige comes with the honor of fighting for the title, which I think is a pretty fair statement. That's why they call it John Rowlandson the voice of reason here. Let me try to backtrack. I've got a ton more comments. James Barris, Mr. Barris himself. There's our champ right there. Mr. Barris, very, very busy man these days. We'll get to that in a few minutes. That was a master stroke of management. Well, that's an interesting hot take there from Uncle Ralph. And Joe Cobra does like to respond. That was business. What you did was betrayal. I'll be more than happy to remove that belt. Well, you know what, Mr. Cobra? You're going to have to wait because right now it's...
Get in line, Mr. Cobra. Get in line.
Does Mr. Cobra still work for CCW, by the way? Do the Mafia, do they work for CCW these days? I mean, I'm not quite sure. Maybe I should ask him that in a second.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, fair enough, because obviously you're only the champion, so you wouldn't know. Also, today marks the 24th year of the birth of Skulls after losing his sister, Michelle. My thoughts and prayers to you, and I'm glad that we are giving you some solace and enjoying yourself, and certainly prayers to you, Skulls. Oh my God, Grayson Reilly will destroy you. I think he's referring to Mr. Cobra here. Only one way to find out. Well, listen, I think that's a tease for May the 2nd, so I'm glad that came up. When you run out of opponents, you will have new, fresh future wrestlers who are brave enough to step into the Thunderdome in the den of lions to fight like gladiators, warriors until one stands tall. Well, look at this man. He's got a Muay Thai background. He was an MMA fighter. He's a world champion. He's really an assassin who does his talking in the ring. And I think for a while, he's going to be the guy that certainly is going to be the standard bearer here when it comes to all things related to CCW. Colin says Joe Cobra was at the last show, sat next to Uncle Ralph. Yeah, I kind of knew that, and I was kind of hoping, Colin, you wouldn't steal my thunder on that because that's kind of what we were supposed to talk about with Mr. Cobra. But everybody these days seems to be reading my notes on Sportswire, so that's here nor there. But this individual, again, who is probably going to be related to my guest on Thursday's show, it's mental, though, Tom. As Tom, on Miners Mania 2, it was Waggle Mania and Bakewell Mania. James Barris ate a whole box and had 3 milkshakes, the CEO mind. Am I missing something here, or is this totally unrelated to you or related to you? What am I missing here on this comment from this individual?
Mr. Lugo seems to be in a different world, I think.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's move on from that because I certainly want to move on because I only realize I only have so much time for you. But if you are on Sportswire Radio and you like the job that I'm doing, please continue to give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. A lot of new subscribers on YouTube. Really want to thank everybody that has subscribed. We have like 50 new subscribers the last couple of months. I'm getting a lot of new views on YouTube. Thank you for that. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And I'll also be back with more wrestling coverage. As I mentioned, Monday, we're starting Championship Week. I had said this earlier last week, but this is kind of the official kickoff of Championship Week. And what better person to kick that off is with Mr. Grayson Reilly. And Monday, we'll have on Big Cheese Logan, 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time. He'll be getting ready to square off for the Championship Wrestling Entertainment UK title. He'll talk about the words that the necessary pawn Palmer had to say about him. Then Tuesday night, same time, same bat channel, the natural born fighter RP Davis, who's squaring off next weekend for the Odyssey Pro Wrestling Championship against Ryan Hunter, a guy that could be a great opponent one day, I think, for Grayson Reilly. He's going to talk about that. Wednesday, we're going to have on the Phantom of the Opera team, who are challenging for the Wrestling Appreciation Society's deadline event for the Nonstop Action Wrestling Tag Team titles, and some combatants there have been in CCW, like Remus Kane. Then Thursday, we'll have on Hammerhead Smith, who's going to be challenging Disciple, the GTM NSWA champion in Breakout Pro Wrestling. Right before that, 8 o'clock, Young Horace. So a very, very busy time. And then I'm going to break it here because I'm going to speak about him in a few minutes. We're going to have on next Friday in your chair, Walker Wall Street, who's going to be challenging you in that last man standing match for your title. So we'll definitely talk about Walker. So it's a very, very busy time. That's why we're calling this Championship Week, because every wrestler is challenging for a championship or hold the title that's going to come on here on Sportswire Radio. So all great stuff here. And let me get to a ton of comments here because people want to talk to you before I get to Walker Wall Street. Joel Cobra says, was keeping an eye on competition. All right, that's fair. I'll certainly give you that. Thought top tier meant he wasn't in Nerd's bedroom during an interview. I don't really know what that means, but I'll certainly move on from that. Mr. Barry says Joel sat there and did nothing. If he thought he would have done something, he had the perfect opportunity there, but he didn't. Why? Because he couldn't. Joel Cobra responds, though, and says, biding my time. A Cobra knows when to strike. Well, I'll talk about it May 2nd. I promise you that much. Top tier, always one step ahead of any player. And I'll give you this much. You guys certainly right now have the upper hand of over the CWO because you're holding the prize that everybody in this business wants. So I will certainly give you that much. And hi, Grayson. Definitely, certainly hi, Grayson. And then I actually should bring this comment up because this is somebody that has come on Sportswire many times, and I think a lot of people were kind of questioning why he was even in this match to begin with. And do you want to say anything to Dan Robertson, who was in Miners Mania 2? He was one of the combatants you saw in the ring, and anything you want to say to Mr. Robertson? Because I'm sure one day, right, we'll see Mr. Robertson. Maybe just not for your title, but anything toward Mr. Robertson?
Yeah, he needs to work on his Spider-Man and Deadpool poses.
Ooh. I think Mr. Robertson, who's having a tough week already, is going to have an even tougher week after that response. So certainly I am sure that we'll one day speak with Mr. Robertson again. Also, Joel, I think, lovingly says, can I have a shot here? But you know what? I'm going to, first of all, bring up a comment from your opponent, who I'm going to talk about. He's our guest next week in your chair. That is Walker Wall Street, who won the fan vote for You Say We Play. You're going to see him in the ring 15 days from now. He says, well, fill in the blanks. Looks like this on the You Say We Play night. He is definitely done. So let's talk about this first. Let's talk about Walker Wall Street, your opponent, April the 29th. You Say We Play. What can we expect from you in your first title defense here for your World Heavyweight Championship?
Well, first off, I'd like to just give Walker a round of applause. It's his first cup of coffee in the big time. Well done, lad. You can thank your fans or, your family or whoever it was who voted for you. Unfortunately for you, mate, you are my first title defense, which means I'm going to have to tear you apart. And that takes me to the next point. You see, it was You Say We Play, and not only did the fans choose my opponent, but they also got to choose the stipulation for the match. There was false count anywhere, submission, or last man standing. And you see, surprise, surprise, nobody wanted to go near submission because you knew I'd just break him in half. But you stupidly made a last man standing. And again, everyone seems to forget that I spent 12 years in a Thai boxing ring knocking people out. So if that match has got no rules, I'm just going to bring the prize fighter out of retirement. I'm just going to take him down, mount him, ground and pound until his teeth and his face are splattered all over the canvas. and then I'm going to demand that the referee count. And when the referee counts to 10, I'm going to turn to my number one fan, Mr. McGregor, and I'm going to say, that's one. Because unfortunately, Walker, as I said, I have to make an example out of you, which means I have to tear you apart. And not just tear you apart, I mean I need to maliciously rip you apart in front of everyone, in front of all the friends. I hope your family's there so they can see it.
I'm going to come back to Mr. Wall Street in a second, and I'll certainly do that. But you brought up Mr. McGregor, and I did want to bring up Mr. McGregor for a second because obviously Mr. McGregor has been going around here and talking about Mr. Hampton. Obviously, Mr. Hampton will certainly mention more or less in the past tense because Mr. Hampton certainly made his thoughts and opinions clear on one of his most recent streams. I'll let that speak for itself. But, I mean, it seems to me, though, and tell me your thoughts on this, champ, that everybody kind of has this what you call selective amnesia when they say, oh, it was okay when Mr. McGregor counts to 3 for Slugger being the champion, but then when it comes to you winning, everybody has a different take, kind of what you talked about a little while ago.
Selective outrage.
Okay, well, then tell me what you want to say, because I feel like it was okay when the CWO got a 1-up on Barris. It was okay when Hybrid took the title over Mad Max Cooper, and he didn't really earn. I think that was the word that Hammerhead Smith here used months back, that basically Hybrid took the cheap way out. I mean, we've even heard other wrestlers that don't even work here said that. But yet, you're the champion. You're the guy, and everybody's got this, as you say, selective outrage, and this seems to be the prime example of it. I mean, what's your opinions on that?
They hate the fact that I was smarter than everybody. They hate the fact that I outsmarted every single person in that ring, in that building. See, there were two sworn-in officials that night, Misha Thatcher and Mad Max Cooper. They were the two sworn-in officials for every single match that night. And unfortunately, Misha got bumped. She got caught in the corner and she had to go down. Where was Mad Max Cooper? When Slugger did pick me up and drill my head into the mat, where was Mad Max Cooper? You see, I won't deny the fact that my head, I was laying on my back for a good 10 seconds. I was out. I was done. But unfortunately, there are no instant replays in pro wrestling. So I ask again, where was Mad Max Cooper? Why didn't he come out to make the count? He was the other official. He should have been the backup official to come running down to make that count, but he wasn't there. So Mr. McGregor took it upon himself to get up, walk over to the ring, count 1, 2, 3. But unfortunately, he wasn't a sworn-in official, and therefore it didn't count. So you can whine, you can cry, you can moan all you want, but when you look at the history books, it will say that the winner of that match was was Grayson Reilly.
Listen, don't feel bad. Listen, champ. We all know that. Listen, at the end of the day, right? The official count on record: 1, 2, 3, and new CCW World Champion was Grayson Reilly. So we know that. Listen, everybody at WrestleMania 39 was complaining. Cody had the title won. Cody had it won, but he didn't win the title just because Solo Sikoa came out. At the end of the day, the record book stated Roman Reigns won the title. Just like at the end of the day, I'm talking to you right now. You're the guy that's got the championship. So certainly, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what the record books and that's what the history says.
The history books, they will show that on that day, Grayson Reilly became CCW champion. And if you just look at what's in front of you, I have the belt on my shoulder. So Simple
All
as that.
right. Well, I have Mr. Wall Street has a lot to say, so let me get Mr. Wall Street responses. And also, Hammerhead Smith here says, looking forward to appearing on Thursday. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Well, you know what? That's absolutely right. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and I'm sure a lot of people tonight who are tuned in will be tuned in next week about 9 o'clock British Standard Time. So certainly, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since Mr. Hammerhead's going to be on, so certainly, your I guess old ally in top tier. That was a long time ago. Different life, though. Different life, different time. But we'll certainly leave Mr. Hammerhead Smith out of this one at the moment. But let's see what Mr. Wall Street has to say for those that are listening and watching. Well, if this idiot looks like this, you say we play night, he is definitely done. Well, that's not my opinion. That's Mr. Wall Street. But let's be honest. The fans have definitely voted for the best person to get the job done. Let's be honest. The fans now see it, but I would remind people, and I'll ask Mr. Wall Street just for you, champ. Him and Tommy Diamond, though, certainly still had their issues, though. So I would have to add, though, that certainly he still got his own stuff to figure out. Once I'm in that ring to face with you, you will squirm. I am sure I will put you down more times than you can count. Slugger Hampton may say he has lost things, and you may say you have gained things. But remember, you are with wannabe friends. You are the one trying to fill a hole in the void. Well, you want to respond to any of this here? Because it seems to me like you've got the biggest prize in this sport right now. I mean, I don't think you're missing Slugger Hampton right now, correct?
See, that's where all of this hate comes from, the fact that I'm the guy at the top. People don't like the fact that I'm the guy at the top. That's what it just comes down to. Now, as for Walker, I'm going to address this. Tommy Diamond doesn't exist anymore. That man's been through
a lot.
And
a lot.
as you can clearly see and tell from what you see of him now, Tommy Diamond does not exist. Cousin Caleb exists, and he is somebody that you should be keeping an eye on, Walker. I mean, I know you're going to have to juggle it because you don't want to take your eye off me, because all you need to do is give me the slightest little inch or gap, and that's it. You're done. I'm going to choke you unconscious, and then I'm going to stand over your limp corpse, and I'll count with the ref. But you're finished. You're done.
Or you can even just do the count, because he'll be out so cold he won't even know who counted to 3. It won't even matter. That's what some people might say. But obviously, listen, Mr. Wall Street, I mean, I don't even know. Listen, some might say, champ, that how is he going to be able to keep his eye on you? There's no way on earth he's going to be fully 100% focused on you, especially after that well-documented issues that those two have. I mean, is this really what he's asked for in this match, you might say? I mean, in a way, I mean, maybe it's his worst nightmare to have actually won this fan vote, because after all the things he's dealing with outside the ring, and then he's got to deal with you and the mood you're in tonight. I've had you on before in the past several times. You look like you're in no mood to play around and no mood to play games, especially with a Walker Wall Street.
Champions can't play around. Champions can't play games. Champions retain championships by getting the job done. I keep saying it, but nobody seems to be paying attention. I am prepared to go far further than anybody else on that roster to keep this belt with me. I will tear you apart, and I will just drag your limp corpse from corner to pillar to post. I'm going to throw you down on the floor in front of your fans. You're going to be done. And the thing is, after I've choked you unconscious, it will only be when I decide that I want the referee to start counting. That's the only time the referee is going to step in. You are mine. You are stepping into my world. You are not going to wrestle your match. You are going to fight my fight. I'm sorry, Walker. You've got enough on your plate with Cousin Caleb, but I am sorry. I am sorry because I am going to make an example out of you. I'm going to prove to everybody on the roster, everybody who sat in the crowd, everybody who sits behind a keyboard, tap, 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 giving it all Johnny Big Bollocks. I'm going to prove to each and every one of you that I am the true CCW champion, that I deserve to be at the top of the hill.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't following Cutlery Championship Wrestling after this, you certainly need your head to be examined, and go over to Cutlery Championship _Wrestling on Instagram, and also follow their groups and like and join at Cutlery Championship Wrestling and Carnage Championship Wrestling, as well as Coming Out Wrestling. But I do have to fast track this comment here before I come back to Mr. Wall Street, because an individual that I know you know from your time in GT Ministries, Mr. Gareth Angel, says, as a fellow Yorkshire man, I think you should swing by Bradford and put that title on the line. Now, I'm always curious about this when I have world champions on it. I remember at the time we had talked about this with Hybrid and when he had held the title. And I mean, do you plan on doing anything? I guess I should ask because Mr. Angel obviously is the mastermind behind GT Ministries, and they're doing some great things. They're actually branching out from the Fountains Church. I mean, do you plan to be outside of CCW? Do you plan to want to square off with a Gareth Angel? Or even, I'll go further. I mean, Disciple's their champion, and Disciple, we're going to actually see against Hammerhead Smith and Breakout Pro Wrestling on June the 11th. And I mean, I have to ask you, I mean, what do you say to Mr. Angel and any of these other outsiders that might want your title, which is the richest prize, I think, right now in this sport?
First off, I've got a lot of respect for Mr. Angel. And as a fellow Yorkshireman, I would take a lot of pride in coming back to Yorkshire and defending this world title. Just name the time and the place, and I'll be there.
Fair play, fair play. Let me come back here to Mr. Wall Street before I get to your compadre, Mr. Alfie Nerds. Walker says, fair play to Grayson Reilly for the win, but I'm not going to underestimate him. People are going to be shocked. Caleb is for another day. If he turns up, I'll put them both down. Just remember, it took two of them to put me down. I got back up, and then they issued another attack after the night. He also goes on and says, I'm paying full attention, and it's going to be a hell of a night. The fight is you have my attention 100%. He also says, don't make me slap you as well. I am sure the fans would be very appreciative. But time out for a second. I mean, listen, you're the champion, but why would another wrestler slap another wrestler? I mean, come on. If you're going to do something, you got to hit and punch him, not do a slap. I mean, what is this here? I mean, what are we, children in school? Slap? I mean, listen, I'll get your take on this, Mr. Wall Street, but I mean, Mr. Reilly, I mean, certainly a slap. That doesn't sound too impressive there.
Mr. Wall Street, you are going to be my first title defense. You are going to be the first person to come against world champion Grayson Reilly. You are going to wish you hadn't. Because any time you've been in the ring with me before is nothing compared to what I am now.
All right, here, and we have a ton more comments, so let me try to get to them. First, your compadre, Mr. Alfie Nerds. Walker is a big lad, and he's a strong lad as well. Unfortunately, he's in the wrong match. The fill-in-the-blank era is here, and I think that's what a lot of people are kind of questioning here. Walker Wall Street, can he really hang with the Grayson Reilly? Looking at the Grayson Reilly background, I think that's what a lot of people are questioning here tonight. Can really Walker Wall Street, with what he's gone through the past few months, I mean, can he really hang with you? I don't know.
No. And regardless of what he's had going on for the past few months, no. I am a different level. I'm a different breed. You know what, Tom? The day after I won this title, I had a Skype call with my brother. My brother lives in Switzerland. And you know what he said to me? He said, oh, yeah, I've seen it and it was good. And, you know, you look good. And I guess you're in God mode now, aren't you? And I looked at him And I said, no, I'm in blank mode. And that's what that is. This is different. Anything and anyone who has come face to face with DB Reilly has not come face to face with Grayson Reilly. They are two different people. You are going to come face to face with me, Walker. And yeah, you can make jokes about the fact that I'm only 5'8" and I'll have to look up at you, just like you did at GT Ministries when you were giving it some of that. But what's going to happen is you are going to stare straight into my cold, dead eyes, and you are going to realize that no matter what you do, you can't beat me. That match will be over when I am done playing with you.
Well, you can look at it like this. You might be looking up at Walker, but certainly if you have it your way on April the 29th, he's going to be the one looking up at you when that referee counts 1, 2, 3. Ring the bell. Ding, ding, ding.
He's
Taylor
down.
Down. He might be. I tell you what, he very well could be. And Taylor Truths here says, "Oh dear, your guests have gone downhill," and he also says, "Good evening." But
Taylor, you used to be our number one fan. What went wrong? Why can't we just get along?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. And we certainly appreciate the time that the champion has with us. We'll have another 10 or 15 more months with the champion. You know, he's got a lot of busy stuff ahead. He's got autograph sessions. He's got conference calls, press with CCW. But I'll tell you what it is. The CWO took it on the chin at Miners Mania 2. The CWO had all this talk. And it was they had won up James Barris. You and Slugger had the issues, and Slugger was going to get his revenge and everything else. They had all the gold. But now it's the CWO that's on the run right now. And the CWO right now has a lot of questions that they have to face for their future. And I think they kind of want to take the heat off themselves because they had arguably the toughest night of anybody at Miners Mania 2. That's at least what some might say, champ.
For too long, the CWO, the Pandemic Priests, the Lilac Legion, whoever, for too long, nobody has shown Top Tier the respect that it deserves. Nobody has shown James Barris the respect that he deserves. He is the CEO of that company, and yet everybody seems to be running wild, running amok. They've forgotten who's in charge, and you see, me winning this title is just the beginning of the reform of CCW because Top Tier are going to take the power back. They're going to take back control of CCW. That is inevitable. It's a matter of time. You're all going to be on the run because Top Tier are coming. And by the time you stop going, it's only Top Tier, it'll be too late. And my foot will be stuck on your neck. Top Tier are going to take control back of CCW. It's going to happen. So get on board with it, or there's going to be trouble.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, this could be trouble for everybody that doesn't stand with the Top Tier. And some may say that the Top Tier is more Top Tier than before. And we have seen several incarnations of the Top Tier. But the Top Tier we're looking at right now might be more violent, more ruthless, and more deadly than it's ever been before. And listen, at the end of the day, you can say what you want about James Barris, but James Barris is the one that's gotten CCW on the front page of newspapers. James Barris is the one that's gotten CCW to work with the likes of Gareth Angel and the likes of Nonstop Action Wrestling and the likes of all these different companies. 22 sellouts in a row, record shows, different companies, all these different things, championship belts, women's titles, you name it.
And does James Barris get the respect that he deserves for all of that? No, he doesn't. Does he get respect? Does he get respect of anybody on that roster? No. What you've got is inmates running the asylum. You've got the CWO just picking and choosing, joining people left, right, and centre, all they want. Oh, but as soon as top tier start to kick back, everyone goes up. Again, selective outrage, Mr. Bryce.
I tell you what, that's the word. I'm going to remember that word here. There's a lot of words I'm going to remember tonight on Sportswire Radio, but that is definitely going to be the one of them here. Walker Wall Street wants to clarify my slap is for Alfie Nerds. When the tag team champions, they took those belts to GTM, so I can see Grayson jumping at the chance to defend the belt there. So what he means is when the militia was the champions, you guys certainly took it to GTM and defended it, so that's a fair play, and I think that a lot of people would love to see that maybe not.
I am born and raised West Yorkshire lad. I will happily go back to West Yorkshire to defend my world title.
And I'll tell you what, there's some participants there in that company that I would certainly love to see you in the ring with. Certainly, Mr. Reilly's at the top of the list. Bentley's at the top of the list. Disciple. I mean, there's some big names there in GTM that we'd certainly love to see you square off with. A fight with Grayson Reilly is all I expect. It's going to be a huge story of the year. Well, if you survive the story, that's a huge story. And some might say, I'll ask you these questions next Friday in the same chair here. And also, this individual keeps going off about Cherry Bakewell as being a sponsor. I mean, what a way to lighten the mood. I mean, we are coming near toward the end, so certainly I appreciate it. I have to find these Cherry Bakewells. I mean, I just had Mars, by the way, today, and I have to say Mars was like one of the best candy bars I ever had. So for the UK fans here, I'm going to actually, after we get off the air, go probably buy another Mars candy bar. So I have to say, I don't know what I was missing in my life. I mean, why in America we were being hid Mars bars for all these years? Because I had this Mars bar, and it was like the greatest bar I've ever had in my life. So, I mean, certainly I might have to find out where the Cherry Bakewells are and do the same thing, because this individual recommends it. I will say also, and
he was a big fan.
And he says James has eaten the whole box. Well, listen, I will get Barris on in a couple weeks. I promise we'll get Barris back on. I may have to ask Barris this question, although Barris might be like, why am I asking this question to you? But maybe we'll ask it. Win some and lose some. It's part of the game. But like us all, it's game over. Top tier, we've heard it all before, but they've got the gold again. But there's a difference, though. Top tier has the title that everybody asks for, and it's a more violent and a more deadly Grayson Reilly than we've had here before.
That is the nail on the head, Tom. You've heard it all before, but it's different because this time I'm world champion and the nastiest guy in CCW is in charge of top tier.
As nasty as he wants to be, as some way say. Grayson is the only violence in top tiers. The other two are a joke. Well, I don't know if they think they're jokes, and I think we'll find out here certainly coming up.
Alfie's coming along. His training's going well. He's got a while to go yet, but
he's working. Listen, he's trying. He's trying. And also want to give a shout out to our show coming up tomorrow for Carnage Championship Wrestling. And certainly some friends of Sportswire Radio I see are going to be there. The first class are going to be there. The Nomad Dalton Garrett and Champagne Charlie I see are going to be in action. I believe that they're coming back to Sportswire soon. So I know that the guys have reached out. So a lot of good stuff over in Carnage Championship Wrestling. Want to make sure I give them a huge plug. The Gentleman Thug, Ronnie Thatcher, and Pride wants to tell me to try a deep-fried Mars bar. It's the worst and best thing imaginable. Well, I'm imagining, will my heart be able to hold that? Listen, I might be in good shape, but a deep-fried Mars bar, as good as it sounds, I don't know would I be able to last from something like that. It does sound...
You are only able to eat one in your lifetime.
Okay. That tells me that I'm going to stick to trying the Mars bars as I bought them yesterday in the supermarket. So I think that's what I'm going to stick with. So I appreciate, though, Pride giving me the kind words on the try, though. I love my Mars bar, too. Yeah, it was really good. I couldn't believe how good it was. CCW, control of CCW could be more troubling than when the Authority was in control of the WWE. I hope and pray it does not happen. Well, find out. Stay tuned. Deep fried Mars are the one. Yeah, you know what? It seems like I'm going to have to one day consider this. You can ask Grayson what we're.
Seriously, you are only able to eat one in your lifetime.
Okay, I'm gonna have to, I guess, break the ice slightly here. Was that waggle? What was that waggle chant on the last show? So tell me what this waggle chant was. What am I missing here?
I would like to plead the fifth.
Okay, good enough, because I feel like somebody's here trying to have fun with us tonight, and I'm sure in that individual who knows the individual who's going to be in the chair on Thursday night show, I'll be curious to see if we'll have the same type of fun. I meant to say top two.
Around.
Well, okay, I want to ask you this question before I get to closing thoughts. What are your final words to Walker Wall Street ahead of April the 29th?
Don't come. Don't show up. Because the moment you get in that ring, you're mine. I'm going to take great pride in tearing you apart and proving to everybody that I deserve to be CCW champion. I would like to say it's just business, but nah. Nah. I'm going to enjoy it.
We're certainly looking forward to it. Also have here some more comments because people, for whatever reason, really want to talk about this deep fried Mars bar. Check the fine print on your health insurance before the deep fried Mars bar. Somebody has to send me, when I'm off the air, a picture of what this looks like, because I'm almost fascinated to actually find a way to try this, and I don't know why I'm going to do this, because I have to go on the air later this evening. So something tells me here that somebody send me a picture and I'll take a look. Jam Dog can eat 3 Mars bars and 3 tubs of Pringles in one sitting. I actually believe that. I actually do believe that with Jam Dog.
I'm pretty sure he did that in one of his last matches.
That's why I said I believe that one, actually. I'll be there. You can have me all you want, but you won't like what will happen. Well, you're going to be in the chair that Mr. Reilly sits in next week, and we'll talk about it. Everyone deserves...
He'll talk a lot. Walker will talk a lot, but talk is cheap.
I've heard that term before. Everyone deserves to be at the top of the mountain, and once they are, they're a king, but it only takes one person to push you off and take your spot. Well, we'll have to find out.
The problem is nobody will be able to push me off.
I wasn't going to bring this up before I get to closing thoughts, but I should at least formally say this in a way that maybe you'll answer it now. And I guess, can we finally say now that what you've done here and what you've proven as CCW World Champion all along, it's been Slugger who?
I think Slugger Giannetti sounds better.
I said Slugger who, but if you want to go with Slugger Giannetti, I am not going to argue with that, because especially...
It hits a little different.
That's true. Listen, that is certainly true. Listen, certainly Slugger Giannetti and Mr. Giannetti, certainly the track record speaks for itself. So that is a fair assessment. And Mr. Smith says here, you could ask me anything on Thursday. A busy man Hammerhead Smith is. And he actually says here, all jokes aside, when I deal with my business, what I've got to do, that belt is coming back home. All right, before I get to closing thoughts, this will be...
Which home's this one? Which one are you in this time?
Well, you know what? And that's kind of why I should spend at least 1 minute on this, because I had Grayson, I had Hammerhead on a few months ago, and we spoke about the situation. Obviously, he was at one time a compadre of yours in Top Tier, and I never formally asked you this question about Mr. Hammerhead Smith, and I'm sure you felt a lot at the time about what had happened with him and the company and him in the championship. So, I mean, here's your opportunity now to respond to that time and respond to Mr. Smith and anything else I'm sure you felt at that time about what had happened when he basically took his ball and went home, as Austin famously did years ago on After Raw. I mean, how do you feel? Tell us how you felt about that situation and how you feel about Mr. Hammerhead Smith.
Again, he's just one of these selective ones, isn't he? He was the one who relinquished the belt. He was the one who, like you said, took his bat and ball home. But yet he'll quite happily go online and go, "Oh, I never lost that title. You gave it up." So if you want a title shot, you can have one, but get in line. Pick a number, take your seat. Simple as that.
And that's a long list of people that he's certainly going to have to get ahead of the line, and including Mr. Joel Cobra, who is a big man in his own right. I don't think Mr. Cobra is going to let his spot at the line here foregone for Mr. Smith. So certainly I'll ask Mr. Smith undoubtedly those questions. And Walker Wall Street just wants to point out, Hammerhead who? Never heard of him. Well, certainly I'm going to plead the fifth on that, because he's going to be in the chair before you, Mr. Wall Street, on Thursday's show. So very, very excited for a lot of CCW coverage. I feel like we haven't done so much CCW coverage in a while, and now we're kind of doing a lot here in one shot. So I'm excited about that. That's why I've always loved CCW. Grayson, eventually I hope to meet you in the future. I'm sure our paths will cross one day. Well, we'll certainly find out. Stay tuned there, buddy. Grayson, Reilly, good luck, and this will be a fight. Expect nothing less, and never underestimate the ability I'm going to show. Hammerhead Smith wants to point out, I redefined CCW from day one. You're looking at the best heel in the country, let alone best in the world. Boy, I tell you what. What are we in store for with Hammerhead Smith next Thursday? I don't know, but I know one thing. A lot of people will probably tune into that one, because anytime Hammerhead Smith speaks, somebody definitely listens, and somebody, I'm sure, will note, and I am sure Mr. Disciple will be noting, and I'm sure Rockstar Rob Bagwell, who's the Firestar Wrestling Champion, will certainly be noting, and Mr. LaRufa over there will certainly be listening. That's a really good match, but that's here nor there. I'll let Hammerhead Smith address all of that here. But, Champ, I know you're a busy man. I could ask you a lot more. We're just thankful that you've given us the opportunity here to speak with us tonight. So I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say, promote. And I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. And the floor is yours, and fire away.
CCW Carnage Championship Wrestling tomorrow night. It's going to be a good show. In just under 2 weeks' time, it's me and Walker, the next Colliery show. Stay tuned. Keep your eyes on everything CCW. There are big things coming. Just not everybody knows what they are yet. I appreciate you letting me come on, Tom. And I appreciate you recognizing me as a world champion. It's got a nice ring to it, that.
I definitely acknowledge you, and you do look like a champion. Regardless of how some may say you got there, you definitely look like a champion, and CCW has a champion, I think, that is going to take this company to some new heights here. And please follow Grayson Reilly on Instagram at Grayson_Reilly PW. Also, Facebook as well, Grayson Reilly. Send him a friend request. If you're so lucky, he'll accept the request. Also, follow Coloring Championship Wrestling, please, on Instagram and Facebook. Also, Carnage Championship Wrestling. Also want to congratulate CCW on Coming Out Wrestling. That is also starting up, and I want to thank everybody there that is joined that and signed up for that group. So CCW doing a lot of great things. We also have a draft May 21st. Champ spoke about that. Also, tomorrow's Carnage Championship Wrestling show, April 15th. Also, April 29th, you say we play the main event for that World Championship. It's going to be Grayson Reilly against Walker Wall Street. And a reminder, Walker will be with us Friday night, same time, same bad channel. Also, we'll hear from the day prior, Hammerhead Smith. Thank you, everybody, here for tuning in on Sportswire Radio. If you are on sportnarium.com/player, you'll go eventually back to your regularly scheduled programming. I'll be back here once again Monday night with Big Cheese Logan, RPD, 7:30 Tuesday, both same times, Monday, Tuesday. Also, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, I will be back with the Friday night sports show, and look forward to that here for the American fans. And I'll be back in a few hours, and I'm going to go to the supermarket and buy that Mars bar, certainly. And thank you, Colin McGregor, and night, and thank you to everybody from CCW again. And we're here on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Thank you. Good night, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on Sportswire Radio, and to all who support CCW. Thank you, Uncle Ralph, for the last comment. Excellent show indeed. Thank you.